Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company this Tuesday morning, July 15th, plowing through this month and this year at a breakneck speed. Coming up in 30 minutes, Angela Morabito of the Defense of Freedom Institute talk about what's next for education after yesterday's Supreme Court ruling. 7:35, Roma Daravi, spokesperson for the Kennedy Center, on the triumphant Les Mis booking. 8:05, Matt Whitaker, he's the U.S. ambassador to NATO. 8:35, Joe Concha. Talk about what's going on with that Gotham City mayor's race. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside the one, the only, the blonde bombshell, Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Julie.
Ridiculous.
So Gavin Newsom is doing a huge media swing because it's a lot more fun to run for president than it is to actually govern the state of California. I mean, he probably should have told the taxpayers of California that he wasn't really interested in running things there when he ran for office. That doesn't matter. He's Gavin Newsom, darn it. And I've been trying to tell this audience, I've known Gavin Newsom, or I haven't known him personally, but I have been aware of Gavin Newsom as a political figure since his days as mayor of San Francisco. That's over 20 years. He is pathological.
Yeah.
He is absolutely the absolute worst vision of a demonic, sociopathic politician you will ever see. And his ability to lie. I know you all think all politicians lie. Not like Gavin Newsom. Not like Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom will tell you that he solved the homeless crisis in California, while at the same time telling you that the reason there is a homeless crisis is because of Republicans and corporations. And by the way, he will also tell you that if you just give him another $20 billion, he'll have it solved in the next 5 years. And he has literally been saying that since he was mayor of San Francisco.
He is the embodiment of a Marvel villain. He really is. It's so perfect that he's in California.
So he did his South Carolina swing where he campaigned and raised money, and sort of South Carolina is probably going to be the first primary for the Democrats. So we know what he's doing, and he's claiming that he's not running, and of course he's running. He went to a podcast run by Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan is very popular. He is a former Navy SEAL. He has a huge social media presence. He has a big podcast, and I get it. Listen, I make fun of podcasts all the time, and Sean Ryan's podcasts are very engaging. But, go ahead.
Well, he's doing the Trump playbook. He's going to podcasts. He's doing alternative media. He's just having conversations, Larry.
Which is fine. I have no expectations for Gavin Newsom. I have expectations for a person who runs a podcast platform to actually challenge the guest in front of them and ask them questions that will expose the lies that the person sitting in front of you who is using your platform to be president of the United States. Sean Ryan, sadly, lamentably, didn't really do that. I don't think he understands what's going on in California. I don't think he knows anything about Gavin Newsom. He thought it was really cool that he would get a Democrat on his show. So here's a couple of things. We got a couple of cuts from this interview. First, here's Gavin Newsom talking about the ICE raids in California. Cut 5.
What do you think Trump's doing wrong right now?
5,000 military in the streets of an American city.
We saw riots. I'm sure they're probably over-embellished.
Understatement.
There are videos and lots of things.
Yeah, there were a bunch of that ordered Waymos, and they're jumping up and down, and there have been hundreds and hundreds of arrests. Didn't need the National Guard to be called in. They're sitting there on horses with American flags running through soccer fields, scaring kids. It's a weakness masquerading as strength. That's what I don't like about this son.
Do you hear all the profanity? You hear all the bleeping? This is Gavin going on a podcast where it's uncensored because it's not controlled by the FCC, and he's talking to a former Navy SEAL. So his people told him, "Go in there and
up.
use a gravelly voice and growl like you're Clint Eastwood and say lots of F words." And it's so manufactured.
Well, and it's a play to get men. It's a play what they think will get men.
Can you play cut 5 real fast again? Just the beginning, Jeff. You'll see me cut you off. Just listen to it.
What do you think Trump's doing wrong right now?
That's enough. Really? That's the question? That's the question? What do you think Trump's doing wrong in
California?
Right now?
You're in charge of California.
What do you think Trump's doing wrong right now? All right, so cut 6, more on the ICE raids.
And the images, you just see 3 blocks, you're like, oh my God, all of LA. I'm in the Reagan building, literally a couple blocks away. You don't even hear anything. You don't even know what's going on. The National Guard are there, but they can't engage. So our guys are arresting the protesters that are protesting the Guard. We're protecting the Guard. That's how absurd things got. They're testing executive boundaries to see how far they can go across the United States. Now they're so resourced that Donald Trump will have one of the largest private armies in the world.
Do you hear that? Private army. All right. But then there was this, again, he's and this is the repositioning. Is like, yeah, we need a masculine man like Gavin Newsom to be our guy. And the Democrats are going to love this and they're going to fall for this. And sadly, I think that some Americans might fall for it. We'll see. But he starts, going right back to the same playbook about why Democrats are celebrating illegal immigration and celebrating illegal aliens. And he uses the same language that they're the backbone of our nation and we need them for our agriculture. But boy, is this revealing. Take a listen.
Community, all these mixed status families, $8.5 billion in tax collection in California every year from undocs. $8.5 billion that we receive just at the state level of taxes. That was the last Pew estimate. So it's not insignificant. Backbone, it's half of our agriculture work. You care about farmers and ranchers? If that's what your number one go-to commitment, then you sure as hell should care about their workers. 41% of our construction workers, Texas and California have the highest percentage of their construction workers that would fall into that category. How the hell do we rebuild Altadena and Palisades? We're going to need a peak next year. We estimate about 70,000 workers. Without that workforce, ain't going to happen. You're struggling here. You imagine a peak there. So I think there needs to be a pathway for those folks as we secure the border, and we own that issue.
Do you feel that they're taking American jobs?
Not in Tulare County. Not in Ventura County. I don't know many people that want a job out there in those packing facilities. Mm-hmm. I don't see many people look like me jumping at those jobs. I just don't. Maybe there's some exceptions. I haven't seen the evidence of that.
Did you catch that?
Yes,
First of all,
I did.
By the way, so here's San Francisco Gavin Newsom saying, well, I don't know anybody who would take a job out there. Out there. That's part of your state, dude.
That's right.
Who wants to live out there? I live in San Francisco, don't you know? Or now he lives in Sacramento. But then cut 7A real fast. Let's hear that again.
I don't know many people that want a job out there in those packing facilities. Mm-hmm. I don't see many people look like me jumping at those jobs. I just don't.
Wow.
I don't see many people who look like me.
Also, just really quickly on the construction jobs, he says, who's going to rebuild the Palisades? It's been how long? And they haven't done anything. He acts like it's currently being done because of Karen Bass.
6 months, and they have put out 4 permits for construction.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank
really,
you, Karen
the
Bass.
The problem is not a shortage of workers. The problem is government bureaucracy.
Karen Bass is the problem. Yeah.
Cut 8, Sean Ryan challenges. Come on, Sean, you're a SEAL, dude.
God.
Challenges him on the state's policy of taking children away from their parents if they don't affirm their gender identity. And listen to this nonsense.
It's weird.
The state can come in and basically take your kid if you're against gender affirming care.
There's some nuanced language around that.
Nuanced.
Yeah.
There's nuanced language.
This is what you're talking about. What a psychopath he is. What a liar he is. Yep. This is they will take your kids away, and there's no nuance about it.
Keep your eye on Gavin Newsom. It's funny. A lot of times I've been talking about Gavin Newsom now for like 8 years on this show since he became governor, and sometimes in D.C. they're like, "Why are you talking about California?" First of all, if you haven't noticed, everything that happens in California gets replicated here.
Yeah,
right?
This is Spanberger.
Right. Number two, every single politician here, prominent politician for the Democrats, is funded by California.
Yeah.
That's why this happens, including Spanberger in Virginia. And number 3, Gavin Newsom, just like Kamala Harris, they're national figures, and they want to be president. And so you better keep an eye out on it. That's why you hear it right here from someone who's lived through it in California, sadly. I've been here 13 years now, by the way, this month.
Really?
I'm
Happy
finishing my
anniversary.
13th year on WMAL. It was 13 years ago when I first appeared on WMAL this week as a guest host for Chris Plant, and then I moved here Moved here in September. It is 6:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yesterday, one of the big stories that we discussed quite a bit was the scandal of Joe Biden's use of the auto pen for clemency and for pardons in the final days of his presidency, where there was no paper trail, there was no sign-off, there's no memos, there's no letters. We're told that there were conversations, that Biden had a meeting and verbally, orally, authorized the use of the auto pen for thousands of clemencies and for key pardons for his family members, Anthony Fauci, the J6 committee, et cetera, et cetera. And it's interesting, Julie, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday because it was a huge story and it was in the New York Times. We'll have three quick things here. First, midday yesterday, we sort of did a recount early afternoon about how the networks had covered the story because, they have their Good Morning America, they've got their Today Show, they've got The View. Right. Hey, Jeff, let's play that cut of ABC's coverage of the Joe Biden auto pen scandal. It's I'm sorry, we don't have that. They didn't cover it.
Jeff's furiously looking.
I'm so sorry, Jeff. What I meant was NBC. Let's play NBC's coverage of the. I'm so sorry.
Right,
Jeff, I got that wrong, too. NBC did not cover the story at all. There was nothing to play. You know what? I don't know why. They're all the same. I get them mixed up. Okay, CBS, that's the one. Let's play CBS's coverage of Joe Biden's auto pen scandal. Oh, he knows better now.
Jeff is on to you now.
Yeah.
You're mean.
He's not,
poor Jeff. He was furiously looking.
Media Research Center has done a audit of the networks, and they ignored it. They had nothing to see here, Julie. They ignored the story. Oh, ho hum. Which is funny because the New York Times spent quite a bit of ink on the story.
They did. And
that ain't cheap, that paper.
Yeah, well, that is the Biden administration getting ahead of it.
Well, that's true. We speculated about this yesterday. There's something big about to drop on this story, and that's why this was preemptive damage control. We see it all the time. They want to get their narrative out first. And we know that James Comer from Kentucky, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, is conducting diligent interviews and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. He's already talked to people like Neera Tanden. He just spoke with this doctor, Kevin O'Connor, who pled the fifth about this.
This is very interesting.
And we also know that Neera Tanden, who is now the head of the Center for American Progress, which was set up by John Podesta, thank you very much, with George Soros' money, thank you very much. After she works in the White House, she goes and heads up Center for American Progress. We know that she's picked up the phone and said, all right, here's what they asked me, because her testimony was behind closed doors.
Let's just say also Neera Tanden, when she came out of that testimony, that behind closed doors interview, she was not happy.
She looked a little shook.
She looked a little pale. Mm-hmm.
So they're getting their story straight, and they're getting their narrative out. And so this New York Times was their attempt to do that, which, by the way, was already quite damaging. Yes. So this is their best face on this scandal, right? And the networks ignored it, completely ignored it. Trump was asked about it yesterday. Here's what he had to say, cut 10.
Look, the auto pen, I think, is maybe one of the biggest scandals that we've had in 50 to 100 years. This is a tremendous scandal. And I know the people on the other side of the, see that desk, that Resolute desk? Unfortunately, he used it before me. But, we have our choice of 7 desks. They're all beautiful. But I chose the Resolute, and so did he, unfortunately. But the people on the other side of the Resolute desk, I know them. Lisa, the whole group, and they're no good. They're sick people. And I guarantee you he knew nothing about what he was signing. I guarantee it.
There you go. He went on to say, listen, we use the auto pen for the tens of thousands of letters we get from school kids and from other people and birthday wishes and Christmas cards. It's not supposed to be used for signing major legislation. It's not supposed to be used for executive orders, and it's certainly not supposed to be used for signing pardons. When Obama used the auto pen to extend the Patriot Act, it was a huge deal. I remember that story. We covered it here on WMAL because he was in Africa on some junket or something. And they went through this whole public display of, all right, he's going to use the auto pen for it for this one thing. Suddenly Biden's using it for, everything. Yeah. Everything. One other point I want to make about this. with regard to these pardons. You know, we live in an amazing age right now. At any given moment, you can sit down at a desk, use a piece of paper, and use your pen, and you can write something if you want to deliver something in writing to someone. Or you can use a typewriter if you wish. Or you can use an old-fashioned word processor.
If you can find one.
And print it out, yeah. Or you can send an email. Or you can send a text message. Or you can send a message via direct message on social media. Or you can, we live in the age of the Jetsons, Julie, where you can push a button and have a conversation with multiple people with a video connection. And that entire conversation.
And you don't have to wear pants.
That entire conversation that you have can automatically be transcribed so it's in writing. I do it all the time with many of the interviews I do. I take the recording, the MP3 recording, you send it to an automated AI service, and within an hour, you've got an automated transcript of the conversation you just had. So you don't actually have to type or write anything. With all of that technology, we are to believe that the President of the United States sat around his kitchen table in the White House residence and verbally gave commands about pardons without ever memorializing those commands in writing. Given all of the technological wonders that we have available, it was just a verbal command, and we're to believe his staff, who now say, oh, yeah, he told us to do this, and Biden after the fact saying, yeah, sure, I authorized everything.
In a 10-minute interview with the New York Times.
Yes, where he sounded incoherent 8 minutes of the time.
Yes.
That's what we're to believe.
There you go.
Yeah, and if you dare shed any doubt on it or challenge that narrative, well, you're just a racist. It's 6:24.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Angela Morabito. She's spokesperson for the Defense of Freedom Institute and former press secretary at the Department of Education. She'll give us an update on the Supreme Court ruling that allows Trump to be president. Keep it here. It's 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:36. It's O'Connor and Company. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of your day here. We're so excited to talk to you, as we always are every morning. At 7:35, we're going to speak with Roma Darabi. She's the spokesperson for the Kennedy Center. 8:05 brings us Matt Whitaker, the U.S. ambassador to NATO. Amazing new decision that will send U.S. arms to Ukraine for their war effort, but NATO will foot the bill. And then at 8:35, Joe Concha on what's going on with that New York mayor's race. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Joining us right now, friend of this program, who should have a spring in her step, Angela Morabito. She, of course, works over at the Defense of Freedom Institute, and also the former press secretary for the Department of Education under President Trump 1.0. And I know that you and Betsy DeVos, the former Secretary of Education, have been working very hard to ensure that we have education freedom back in the hands of parents and in the states. And part of that is to dismantle the Department of Education. And, boy, that Supreme Court ruling must be music to your ears, Angela.
It's definitely a good sign. Good morning, Larry and Julie. It is so great to be with y'all. While the Supreme Court decision is a positive signal for overall cutting government waste and administrative bloat, it's not really a green light for abolishing the Department of Ed. It's a decision on a technical procedural issue, but I do hope that Congress will ultimately dismantle the Department of Education and send K through 12 education funding straight to the states. I think that is the best outcome for everybody here. It's cutting out a very expensive middleman and ultimately putting more power in the hands of states and parents.
Well, it sure seemed like that's President Trump's intention. He put out a statement on Truth Social that said exactly that.
For sure. And it's wonderful to see that Secretary McMahon, just like her predecessor, Secretary DeVos, is not only willing to work herself out of a job, but trying to work herself out of a job. And the plaintiffs in this case sued on the grounds that with the reduced workforce, they said, the Department of Ed could not possibly carry out all of the responsibilities that are assigned to it by the law. But we're several months into this reduction in force, and not a single student or teacher has felt any negative ramifications of shrinking the department. So if we shrink it ultimately and Congress decides to dismantle it, I think this is a wonderful signal to the American public that, hey, your schools are only going to get better. You don't lose anything when bureaucracy goes away.
Right.
Angela, it's interesting. Sotomayor, she dissented, not surprising, one of three, and she said that the majority's emergency decision was indefensible. And she went on to say that the executive, when the executive publicly announces its intent to break the law and then executes on that promise, it is the judiciary's duty to check that lawlessness. I don't understand how personnel decisions from the executive of an executive branch agency is against the law. Could you make any sense of Sotomayor's dissent?
I hate to disappoint, but I don't think I can make any sense of that at all. I don't understand what she's going for here, especially when the proof is in the pudding and the department's been doing everything it's been legally required to do without additional staff who weren't necessary. And look, I'm never going to throw a parade when somebody loses their job. I've been on the wrong end of a layoff before, and it's always sad. It's always upsetting. But it's also upsetting to waste taxpayer dollars on redundant services. We found out that the Department of Ed had an IT person for every single team, even teams of 5 people. That doesn't help teachers teach, and that doesn't help students learn. So I think you're seeing public opinion kind of swell up behind the Trump administration here and realize that the ultimate goal of the Department of Education should be to benefit education. And I just don't think there's a lot of proof it's been doing that.
So how quickly can things start moving now? Again, the decision had to do with a lower court judge that had paused a effort to lay off 1,400 Department of Education employees, and the money that was used for those employees, as Trump stated on his True Social account, would be sent back to the states. Can this start immediately? And there's some concern, I think, Angela, if you can just add to that answer, about sort of the method in which this is going to be executed, and to make sure that it's being done in a circumspect way and in a sort of responsible and deliberate way, and are organizations like yours, like the Defense of Freedom Institute, are they able to sort of advise and help sort of lend a hand into how best to spend that money and how best to target education at the state level?
So there are 2 separate tracks here, right? Where there is the track that only Congress can take to abolish the Department of Ed. And on that, we absolutely are part of that, and saying not just send this money back to the states, but, hey, states, this is how you benefit students and families the most. Starts with giving them school choice, education freedom, force schools to compete. Because we know for a fact, and this is not a new fact, and this has been true for quite some time, that the schools and states that spend the most money per student are not the schools and states that get the best outcome. So this is not a problem we could just throw more money at and hope education gets better. That's not going to work. So we're very active on the strategy and making sure that every education dollar follows the student and then does the most that it can for that particular student. Now there is that second track, which is the court decision that we're talking about here. It's a procedural ruling, but I got to admit there is still a possibility that the Department of Ed could lose on the merits of its preliminary injunction, or could lose the full case on the merits. This case hasn't been decided on the merits yet, so that's going to take some time. Now, here's what does happen in the immediate future. The employees of the Department of Ed who are affected by the reduction in force, their separation date, I believe, is August 1st. I'm actually glad to see they've been treated really well in all of this. They got a few months of administrative leave plus severance. And I think treating people well is always a great decision, because we're trying to unwind this knot of an old system that was unproductive and unsustainable.
All right. We got to leave it there. Always, I love your energy, Angela. Thanks for joining us, and give our best to everyone at the Defense of Freedom Institute.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. You guys are the best.
I'll leave it to President Trump to turn a brief set of remarks at a faith luncheon at the White House into a stand-up routine about the economy and some of his rich friends with their, young, beautiful wives who apparently fell in love with their wallets. That's sort of a summary. Let's hear Trump say it in his own words.
So hard. And the alternative is one of two things. You can either get all these things and make the economy strong, or you're going to literally have perhaps a depression where you people so rich, so beautiful, so nice to look at will be totally busted. And let's see how long your wife stays with you. You're beautiful. She'll stay with you for about 3 weeks, and she'll say, darling, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, darling. I'm leaving you. I said to one guy, he's a very, very unattractive man, but he's smart, and he's rich. And I said, you better hope we get this thing passed, because your wife will be gone within about 2 minutes. Oh, my God. He said, you're right.
This is the faith luncheon. Have I mentioned this is the faith luncheon?
Oh, my God. This is so funny.
He also went on to blast Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, and take a listen.
I've barely started. The economy is roaring. Business confidence is soaring. Incomes are up. Prices are down. And inflation is dead. It's dead. We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy. It doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy. He really is. You know, each point, think of this, each point costs us.
That's fine. That's enough. Once again, I want to remind you this was the faith luncheon at the White House. But you know, Trump is Trump, and it's funny stuff. It's
and the rich are the rich are very different from us.
Yes, it's 6:52.